We're all familiar with the Exxon Valdez oil spill in Prince William Sound, Alaska, which we worked on too. That takes too long to talk about. We represented Alaska against Exxon.
Your office did?
Yes. And in that spill, catastrophic spill, 275,000 barrels of oil were discharged into Prince William Sound. The amount of oil that was discharged into the Persian Gulf, or Arabian Gulf, depending upon your point of view, as a result of the sabotage of these oil wells, was 40 times that, 10 million.
40 Exxon Valdez spills
Right.
into the Persian Gulf.
Into the Persian Gulf. Prince William Sound has a tidal range of 30 some odd feet, means a lot of flushing. The Gulf has a tidal range of about 5 inches and is very constricted at the strait.
So that water, that oiled water is just sitting there in the Gulf.
That's right. But in addition to those 10 million barrels, another billion barrels of oil, another billion was incinerated or spilled onto the land. And vast swaths of Kuwait stood under a meter of oil.
A meter of oil?
Yes. These vast oil lakes. So, the United Nations, to implement the ceasefire, the United Nations passed another resolution a few weeks later, 690 something, in that range, that created the United Nations Compensation Commission. Nice and generic. It doesn't have the word Kuwait in it. It doesn't have Iraq in it. It's intended that this might be used in the future. Very novel structure. A lot of individuals were damaged, killed, or had property stolen by the Iraqi army and so forth. Corporations were damaged in many respects. Refineries were blown up. And finally, nations suffered enormous environmental damage. The 5 nations were the main, far and away the main. Kuwait, of course, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Jordan, and Iran. Acid rain, can you imagine? I mean, that black cloud was there for 6-8 months. Respiratory ailments, admissions, hospital admissions, and clinic admissions for all kinds of lung ailments. The streams were polluted, so flocks of sheep just died drinking the polluted water. So all of this had to be wrapped up. The UN Compensation Commission was tasked with hearing those claims and hear the claims of individuals first. Never before.
I can't believe it went down to an individual level.
2 million claims were filed and processed and paid.
By the state of Iraq.
Paid by the state of Iraq. The Allies took over control of the Iraqi oil fields and took the proceeds from the sale of Iraqi oil to the world's market. That was the source of funds to pay these claims. So they first dealt with the claims of individuals, and it's a triumph of international law. We're putting the rights of individuals ahead of even nations. They were done first, process paid. Next, corporations. David Caron was a commissioner hearing the claims of corporations against Iraq. Those were all processed and paid. And last were the claims of nations for environmental damage or natural resource depletion, in other words, just the loss of oil.
This has to be some of the largest environmental reclamation work in history. Yeah.
No question about it. No question about it. And we hosted Kuwait, and the Smithsonian did a big conference on the consequences of the environmental consequences of war in the summer of 1998.